All right, Bucks win in relatively dominant fashion. The Eagles did make a game of this in the third quarter, but Tampa Bay was able to pull away and had a double-digit lead basically the whole game. There was a moment when the Eagles made it a little interesting, but yeah. The Buccaneers have now beaten the Eagles a few big times. They lost to them last year in the regular season, but has beaten them multiple times in the postseason in the past 3 years, and a big regular season win here. Of course, a big part of this is going to have to be the injuries of the Eagles, much like last season in the playoffs without A.J. Brown, which matters a lot. He means so much to that team, and Devonta Smith. Really, for Jalen Hurts, I mean, he had Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert, and that was mostly it. He was trying to make things happen, and to be honest, I didn't think Hurts played great in this one. He missed, I think, too many throws as well. He made some good plays as well, but he's supposed to make good plays. He's Jalen Hurts, right? This is not his best day on top of all of that. Saquon Barkley was very good, but I think for Tampa Bay, one thing you noticed, we'll start with the defense before we'll talk about Baker. We'll get there. But let's start off with the defense because for me personally, I thought this defense looked really good. Again, the secondary was great. You knew the secondary was going to be great, right? I mean, it had a very easy matchup, not a ton of receiving talent, although Dallas Goedert is very good as a tight end. Saquon Barkley is a very good receiving back, but they're still not receivers. It was an advantage there, but still, I mean, let's be honest. We've seen teams have easy matchups and still struggle from time to time. They did what they should have done. They dominated that advantage that they had. To me, what I really like is I just feel like this pass rush feels so much better. And again, they blitzed a ton, right? But they're Todd Bowles. That's what they do. This pass rush is not San Francisco. They don't need to get pressure with four consistently. That's not how they're built. That's not how they do things. So seeing guys like Chris Braswell came in and made some plays, the rookie. Yaya Diaby had the sack. Nice to see him back and healthy. You have Lavonte David with multiple sacks in this game. And Vita Vea, probably the standout. Having him back, again, a guy who doesn't light up the stat sheet, he means so much to this team. And having him there, I know the Eagles were without Lane Johnson. That matters a lot. But again, I think we saw a better pass rush than we've seen. Even all factors considered, we saw a better pass rush than we've seen for this Buccaneers team. So a good defense, and I mean, the way Washington's scoring on every drive, the fact that we got them to punt is a pretty promising sign back in week one as well. I think the defense being healthy is very promising and very good. So while it was a banged-up Eagles offense, again, they did what they should have done, which was dominated that matchup. The thing was, so we were kind of, I think, wondering, okay, how is this going to go? A banged-up Buccaneers defense who still is missing Antoine Winfield, right? They still have pieces missing, but a banged-up defense against a banged-up offense, that could kind of go either way. But what was interesting is just how dominant this Buccaneers offense was in this game. It did cool off in the second half, only 9 points in the second half. But, I mean, when you score 24 in the first half, you can cool off a little bit and still have a really good offensive day. I thought Baker was great in this game. I think that I don't think it's crazy to say that with this team, like they didn't just win. Like they're at the point where they're not winning with Mayfield. They're winning because of Mayfield. I mean, Baker was awesome here. He was making some of these plays. That drive, to me, the drive of the game was the Eagles have just scored a touchdown in the early on in the third quarter. It was the first drive of the third quarter, and it's all of a sudden a 10-point game. So you're in trouble, and there were multiple third and longs that Mayfield had to convert. One rushing and then one kind of scrambling out and making a throw, finding Godwin, who was open. Those two plays, to me, were the plays of the game to get yourself up. They score a touchdown. Granted, blocked extra point, Eagles get two back, so that basically turned into a 6-point drive instead of a 4-point drive instead of a 7-point drive, but still put you up an even 14. And I think the other play right after was Lavonte David, the strip sack, who, one thing I thought about with Lavonte David is, so obviously with Devin White, if you're going to blitz, usually Devin White's going to be the guy you're going to blitz with because he is, for all his faults, an amazing blitzer. And you want David in coverage, so like it's kind of a no-brainer that 90% of the time, if you're going to blitz a linebacker, you have White go. But now that you have KJ Britt, who's more of he can kind of do several things. He doesn't have to just be he's someone you can trust in coverage. It kind of lets you have Levante David, who also is an elite pass rusher, go out and he can do that stuff. And we saw it today. He had multiple sacks in this one, along with one of them being for a forced fumble. So that was cool. Good to see. And Levante David almost had an interception as well, as did Jamel Dean. No interceptions, but they came close a couple times. But yeah, back to the offense. Like I said, I thought Mayfield was great. Some of these windows were big because he was using his eyes to get them open. Some of these windows weren't that big, and he was still doing what he could to make the throw work, fitting the ball through a tight window. Tom Brady discussed a couple of throws that maybe he wouldn't have made, but that's Mayfield's playing style. He's a more dangerous player. It has its pros and cons, right? The running game worked in this one. The Buccaneers had a running game, and again, part of that is when the Eagles play two safeties deep, makes things easier. But listen, us Bucs fans have seen plenty of two safety deep coverages that didn't make any difference, because we still couldn't run the ball in those. So getting a running game going, Bucky Irving and Rachaad White with essentially identical stat lines. They both had 10 carries for 49 yards. Irving did have a touchdown. White didn't. But other than that, same stat line. And then Mayfield had a couple of nice runs in there as well, including a touchdown of his own. So that was nice. I thought the offensive line held up. That's good to see because, again, I really want Gadecki back. But, that was not as big of an issue as maybe you would have thought heading into this game. And obviously, I've gone way too long without mentioning a few guys in the passing game. First one I'm going to mention is just Sterling Shepard. What a nice find that would be if he could be a solid role player for us. He had 51 yards in this game, including a really nice catch in the mix. Trey Palmer had a nice touchdown. K. Dotton had some plays. But really, the Mike Evans-Chris Godwin combo is the story, one of the stories of this game. There's a lot of stories of this game, but that was a big part of it, right? I think that it's very humid here in Florida right now after the hurricane. It's very hot out. You could see it. These guys were struggling at times, especially Evans. I thought he looked tired the whole game, basically. He's a big guy. It takes a lot of energy to move down the field that much. He had to come in and out, which is something we've seen a little bit more of this season, I feel like. I don't know the numbers on it. Definitely is someone that, has tapped out a little bit. Got 94 yards in this one and a touchdown. Nearly had another one. He's having maybe not the highest statistical year that we've seen, but still as a force. Godwin, another good day. Godwin is having his highest statistical year, maybe. Although he did have that 1,300 yard season. What was his record? I'm trying to remember. But he had, he's had some good years for sure. But he's, definitely playing at a high level right now on top of it. So having those two guys fully dominant like this, it's going to be hard to beat this offense. And for Philadelphia, some of this defense they have to clean up for sure, but some of this was good offense. Godwin had 1,300 yards back in 2019 was the year where he did that. That was Winston's last year. But yeah, one thing I do have to mention is I think Tampa Bay played a really good game of football. I think Philadelphia made a lot of mistakes on their own. I think the Eagles are going to look back at this and say, what are we doing here a little bit? This is multiple times in Tampa Bay the Eagles can't tackle. In that playoff game, they couldn't tackle anybody. This game, it was 11 missed tackles in the third quarter. I don't know what it ended up being, but they were missing tackles left and right in this one, which got to give credit to Tampa Bay. They have guys who can make you miss, but also, Philadelphia, you got to make some of these tackles. So, we can sit here and say injuries for the Eagles. Tampa Bay has injuries as well. And for the Eagles, they just didn't play well. If you're an Eagles fan, you can't be happy with this performance. I think if you're an Eagles fan and, you lose because you don't have the pieces on offense to make it work, it is what it is. But some of these were just unforced errors, penalties that were just, not necessary, of holding on 3rd and 14. Those are just bad plays by Philadelphia. But, again, good teams take advantage of opponents' mistakes. That's what Tampa Bay did in this one. Good to be back. Good to be. Hey, turns out we don't suck. Maybe Denver's all right. Denver beat the Jets too. So maybe. Still a disappointing loss. How bad it was, but very good win. And now you got a tough turnaround going to play the Falcons, but getting a little bit healthier here. Atlanta just won a big game against the Saints, and this was it. I mean, you win this game, you're 3-1. You need to win a couple of these tight ones if you're going to make the playoffs, because like we said, the next 6 games are still brutal. You have the Falcons and the Saints. You do the Falcons again in this stretch, and then Ravens, Chiefs, 49ers. I mean, that's tough, but getting a big win here really helps you with that, right? Because even if you want to say you lose to the Ravens, Chiefs, and the 49ers, even if you put that there, all you have to do is go 2-1 against the Falcons twice and the Saints. Can win 2 out of those 3. You are at 500. Schedule gets so much easier after that. You're probably in the playoffs if you can do that. So that's my goal. The next 3. I mean, I would love to go 3-3 in this stretch, but honestly, 2-4 would be okay. That would be fine. But 3-3, and you're basically in, I think, is how they're looking at it. So yeah, play the Falcons on Thursday. Be a huge win there if they can get it. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.